I had to do Exiles. We're very close to the launch of Settlers of Kalguur. I'm excited. I don't know about you. Pretty sure you guys are as well. And this is the build that I'm going to be running for SOT League. And we are going to do Lacerate of Cyclone. Or excuse I don't know why I said that. Because I was just reading the notes for the new POV update. Lacerate of Hemorrhage. And this has been a lot of fun to just kind of play around with and tweak and figure out how I want to kind of maneuver some stuff. So I'm just going to hop right into it. Preface, okay? This is my league starter, okay? I haven't tested this. This could be absolutely terrible. Bottom of the barrel even. So take what I say with a grain of salt, okay? If you go into my comment section and you're like, find all these inconsistencies and you start posting, great. But this is my first Melee league. I've never really played Melee. And so this is a whole new side of PoE that I finally feel comfortable experiencing with everyone else a lot, like a lot of other people, I'm sure. And so, this may not be the best build, the most efficient build, which is why I'm going to say, don't play this. Don't follow me. Because I can't put my seal of approval on this. I don't put my seal of approval on anything that I do not test extensively, which is why I currently only have a single build guide, i.e. the SRS, because I know that thing better than I know myself. I know that thing inch by inch, top to bottom. Whereas this, I just don't know. As a PoE build maker, I think it's going to be a pretty damn good build. And I think it's going to do a lot of the content that I need it to do. And honestly, I'm going to put this as one of probably an A+ build. But I don't know that until I actually get into the nitty gritty of it, right? So here are my thoughts on Lacerate of Hemorrhage, and we'll get into it. So I only have one pastor tree. I'm just going to, kind of level up as I see fit. Obviously, taking this node is going to make us super duper tanky in the campaign. And we will be speccing quite a bit into block early on to make sure that we're comfortable in map. The build has 6 endurance charges because we are scaling damage over time multiplier. With our endurance charges, I can probably get maybe 1 or 2 more, but I'm pretty comfortable with 6. This is with Molten Shell activated. 16 Fizz is pretty decent. It's okay. Not the best. The Ellie hits pretty okay. It's like 170,000, but we have like upwards of, I think, a little above 90% block chance for attack and about 87.5% effective with lucky block. So I feel like we're gonna feel very tanky, but we're not gonna be able to like tank slams and we're still gonna have to like dodge stuff. You know what I mean? Now our masteries, we got the 10% more to pair up with our volatility. We will be chill immune, ignite immune, and shock immune because we are running Tempest Shield to help lessen the passive tree stress on getting like a ton of extra block chance. I'm tempted to take this off and maybe do max fringy charges during mapping. Cannot be chilled while at max fringy because we are running Blood Rage. And just not worrying about ignite, or just doing like some like reduced duration type business because we have a fairly decent amount of leech on the build, and currently that could free up a spot for another like a different mod on my boots. But as it stands, we will be ignite immune, fully ailment immune, except for the alt elements, but that kind of goes without saying. And I feel like we got a pretty good amount of life. We're hitting all the major bleed nodes, all the major block nodes, resolute technique. And the trees, it's very, very cut and dry. And there's really not much to go over here. You hit the bleed, you hit the block, the endurance charges, 2 or 3 jewels, and, Bob's your uncle, right? So we're just kind of chilling at this point. There might be an argument to spend these 5 points a different way, which mostly this will be probably the last 5 points I end up getting. But that goes without saying, will I get level 100 with this build? I have no idea. So I had a very, very difficult time filling the sockets of this build. At one point, I had boots and gloves that I didn't know what to put in them. They were just empty sockets. I was about to run a build with 2 whole pieces of gear with no gems. But I put my head together with a couple friends of mine who are also playing this league. And this is what we came up with. Originally, we were going to do shield charge plus sleep slam. That idea goes by the wayside, which is kind of sad because I really, really, really love shield charge. It is hands down one of my favorite skills in the game. But we got rid of it for leaf slam, life tap, and faster attacks. We have vulnerability, war banner with more duration, which actually I need to change this in some way. We might end up not doing more duration here, mainly because I really kind of need vulnerability on life tap because I don't have a ton of mana right now. You see we're attacking 29. That's our cost per second because we're using multi-strike. So we should have just enough mana to only cast Lacerate, and this is going to cost us 33 mana. So it might be one of those things where we might can squeeze it in once every, few seconds and, not be interrupted in our swinging. So most likely what'll happen is we'll do life tap here, and then we'll just get rid of the more duration. It's a bummer, but it makes the build smoother. And then we have Lacerate of Hemorrhage, of course. Volatility, melee physical, brutality, multi-strike, and cruelty. These are going to be tested. There might come a time where something may or may not change. The awakened version of these gems don't really offer that much more DPS. They offer a little bit, but like Intimidate doesn't really do much for us. Crush, I think, does a little bit, but if these end up being expensive, I mean, we're looking at like another 200,000 DPS on our bleed, like our total bleed DPS. It's really not a lot, which is kind of surprising. What is a lot, however, is scaling your gem now is actually quite a bit more reliable. So there's an amulet out there that can give you +3 levels, Dragon Fang, which actually seems like a legitimate option now. We have an automation set up, Molten Shell, Blood Rage, Life Tap. Our regen plus our leech is more than enough to cover all this, even with it running as automation. I'm keeping Blood Rage at level 11 to reduce our dex cost because going to 20 really doesn't offer us that much more, right? So we're just like kind of on the gnat's edge of that. Now for our auras, we run Pride, Determination, Tempest Shield, Herald of Purity, and Aspect of the Spider, right? And then we take one little node right here, right there. So we take Champion of the Cause, and that fulfills all of the auras that we need. And we're right on the edge. We're right on the edge of having just enough mana to cast what we need to cast when we need to cast it. Now, another setup, which, I had all this set up and then I had an empty helmet still. So I thought about Maim. We could do Maim support, but I wasn't very keen on, having to cast a second skill for a 30% chance to Maim. So I came up with kind of a middle ground, and I think this will work, but I want to do cast when damage taken because we are using Blood Rage and we are using a ton of life tap. And I believe that self-inflicted damage still counts towards cast when damage taken. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. Cast when damage taken, one of the new retaliation gems, Maim and life tap, right? So whenever it pops, I can just throw it on a rare or a boss, and I have a 30% chance to deal increased damage, right? I have a 30% chance to maim the target. If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, then I'm chilling, right? It's really of no bother to me. But the thing is, I wouldn't even have to cast it because we'll be taking so many hits, right? Because we're full block. Yeah, my cast when damage taken is always like I'm hoping to align the cast when damage taken with the conditional block that needs to happen for one of the retaliation skills to go off. So in my mind, the idea is I block, the condition is met, I can now cast Crushing Fist, and then I've taken enough self-damage from Blood Rage and all the other life tap stuff we have that it will then cast it for me on auto. I don't have to worry about it. So 30% of the time, the target's going to take 10% more damage because I think increased damage taken is effectively a multiplier. So that's my idea. In POB, it sounds great. In practice, it may be absolutely terrible, and if that's the case, we'll just throw it on like Blade Storm or something and just let it set, and if we get it, whatever. So that's the skills aspect of the spider. I think we're putting that on a ring right here. And as far as my gear goes, it's pretty basic stuff. Nothing too crazy at all. None of the new bases, obviously. We have all of our implicits together. And then this is probably going to get swapped from Pride to Determination because Determination is inevitably going to be cheaper. And Pride and all's Pride Uprising is going to be so expensive this league. I guarantee it. So I'm going to switch this to Determination, especially since it got nerfed. I'm sure a lot of builds are going to move away from Determination in lieu of something else. And then we have a couple Amethyst rings with the relevant information. And it's all pure rare gear, real easy, simple gems. Now, the axe is the biggest part of this. It's a 518 DPS Reaver axe. I have no idea how I'm going to craft this. No shot. But this is my chase item that I want to work towards, right? And with everything up, everything in line, we have 3 web attacks, our banners planted, the mobs on low life. We're doing about 4.1 million bleed DPS and almost 700,000 hit DPS, which is pretty good. I mean, I'd say that's pretty solid. Most of these items I'm going to craft on ROG, right? This build is not going to be that expensive for me because I'm focusing ROG this league. So it can all be crafted on ROG. This can be crafted on ROG. This, maybe. It's pretty hard to craft a good weapon on ROG. I'm going to be honest. It's very difficult. So this is probably going to be something that we essence craft, and then we actually are methodical about the crafting. But for the rest of the stuff, I mean, I don't see this really being that expensive of a build. Maybe 5 div, maybe 10 at the max, depending on how much it costs to craft an axe like this. But I don't know. Time will tell. And this is why I say I don't want anyone to follow this build, because it's going to be a huge learning experience for me. And I don't want anyone's league start ruined in case mine is ruined. So I'm going to take the hit for you guys. Now, without everything up, to say we're mapping, no low life. I'm not going to be using banners in mapping other than like really insane rares. I'm leaving this up because this is always going to be up on rares because we attack fast enough. We're like 3.20 attack speed and the enemy's always moving. We're at like 2.8. We're at like 2.8 million DPS, 2.86. So, I mean, that should be more than enough for mapping. If you look at the snapshots of like week 1 and week 2 of PoE Ninja for 3.24, the higher end of Hemorrhage is like 2.8 million. And that's like with Frenzy charge stacking. And since we're not doing any of that, I feel like my DPS is pretty well in line, and it's doing pretty well for not being a charge stacker and not really abusing charges whatsoever. So, and not using Jack Yaks, which I've decided to go against doing that for obvious reasons, because I don't want my life reserved, because our life is already lower than I'd like it to be. I was hoping for like 5.5k, but with the new mods, I think we'll be able to reach that goal. And then maximum effect, this is really just for bosses. If we're mapping, we're at like 2.4 million. So still not, it's going to be good enough. And I think we'll even be able to do like a really, really good serious amount of juicing with this much DPS. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I may or may not keep Molten Shell on automation. I may pop it when I need it manually, but that kind of goes, I'm just not really sure about that. But with our Molten Shell, we're feeling real good. Now, we do have a mod that's going to make us extremely tanking during mapping. That's recover 4% of life on block. It's a Shaper mod. For those that saw that the life on gain mod is now gone, I would be rest assured that that's talking about the suffix on the normal mod pool, not the influence mod pool that has the recover, because they are 2 different things. One is recover, and one is gain. So they're 2 different things, 2 different wordings, and I would be very, very, very surprised if they remove this as well. If they do end up removing this, I'm sure I'd have to think about it. But I'm sure there are some ways to help with our sustain. But we are really relying on this recover 4% of life when you block. We are really using that for our HP sustain. So very important. Beyond that, that's it. That's the build. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. If you have questions or if you have concerns about the build or you see some inefficiencies, please, by all means, post it down in the comments. There's still time to tweak this before the league starts. I'm pretty set on it as a whole. But, if you guys find some stuff, just let me know, because this is kind of a new thing for me. I'm extremely proficient in this, but not proficient in this, right? So let me guys know what you think of the build compared to other Lacerate builds that you've seen. And yeah, I'd be curious to hear you guys' opinion on my Lacerate build. I'm very curious. So, with that said, I probably won't see you guys till Friday. I will be live on Twitch. It's the same name, TABL3S. There's also my Twitch name and my YouTube channel name. And with that said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. Good luck on your League Start Exiles, and God bless.